So let's take a pause here, and so Ross, from the perspective of either the consumer or the retailer, which of the devices or device categories, and obviously some of these are going to get device and service, have any of these new devices, whether it be the Voodoo, any of the Netflix, Roku-enabled devices, things like the Kindle, have any of those devices moved beyond enthusiasts at the store shelf?
No. You know, Apple TV is, for a company like Apple, a very low volume product.
And every other one is hacked.
Yeah.
Right.
Rightfully so.
You know, the one exception, I guess, up until this year's CES, where we're starting to see Blu-ray and TVs themselves enter the space, has been the game consoles. You know, so up until pretty recently, well, actually probably still, Xbox 360 is probably the highest volume digital media adapter product.
I don't think people are buying Xbox 360 at retail because it's a digital media adapter. I think because
no,
it's very
nobody's going to buy a TV because it's a digital media adapter.
Yeah.
But how many people are using the functionality? I always argue,
I think
people
it's
say, oh, it's
relatively
just
low.
a game console, but I'd say, well, if they're buying it, they'll discover it if it's
Yeah.
done right.
But I
Well,
think
if it's not in there, they certainly have no chance of, you know, it's just a way for Microsoft and Sony to generate some exposure, you know, for this kind of functionality. So.
But the point I was going to make about Xbox 360 is that it's a very easy sell at retail. Trying to sell a DMA at retail is a nightmare because it's kind of this box.
Well, it's the Apple TV problem. That's why they've not sold very many of them.
Well, when
You just can't be single-minded about a multifunction device.
Right.
when the best one is Apple TV and it's still horribly painful to use,
Well, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Apple TV is only for playing content you buy from iTunes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is the number one reason why there will not be an Apple TV in my house, because I just detest iTunes with a vengeance. It's a nightmare.
but trying
Here.
to convince Apple TV to download movies
Yeah.
from your iTunes by way of a network drive, it's like you're like, here it is,
Well,
look at it.
The
You know,
I mean,
boxy Apple TV is
Yeah.
another matter.
Boxy
well, the
is
boxy
fun,
Apple
but
TV is
that's,
slow.
Yeah.
and it takes
It's way underpowered.
a certain amount of knowledge, I think.
Well,
Not gonna work.
the boxy Apple TV is a really impressive piece of hardware. I mean, or the boxy the boxy software on any kind of platform. I mean, basically streams anything on your network, streams Hulu, streams YouTube, streams ABC.com, and a couple of other. I mean, they're adding more every day. But
Yeah,
all
I
these
player in
online
the UK,
channels.
come on. We've
Yeah.
finally got the download solution
There you
with
go.
Boxy.
Really?
They're just announced it.
Yeah.
But Apple locked them out again, right? In the
Oh, I
last
didn't see
firmware.
that.
Well, when was the last firmware?
2.3. So it was a while ago.
So-
I just installed it 3 weeks ago. And it
Okay.
worked 3 weeks ago.
But I mean, Apple does. In other words,
Wait a second,
Apple doesn't
I wanna
want you
take
doing
that.
that.
There should be a duck coming down from the ceiling. The duck says, it worked 3 weeks ago.
Well, I didn't install it yesterday, Carlos. I was here. I mean, the thing is, Apple TV is not a good outlet for that software. I mean, you need a really small, like one of the Pico ITX or whatever, whatever, something that can play H.264 encoded movies at high resolution and doesn't do anything else. Doesn't have a fan, doesn't have a big power supply, doesn't have a hard drive even necessarily. Has a 64 megs of flash or 128 megs of flash, whatever it is they need.
Well, let's anybody here from Korea or been to Korea recently? Because I mean, in Korea you can freely buy these boxes to take advantage of 100 megabit downloads, store this stuff on SATA drives, you just slide into the front. DRM, what's DRM? And people have their hands slapped over that. But these are like Apple TV-like devices that are like $299, running Linux, and they're a complete gateway between whatever IP stuff comes in or whatever comes in over a cable or over the air. Just lets you have it. Have the lawyers gotten through with that yet? No, they haven't figured where to attack in Korea. So the market has flourished. There are more than a dozen of these devices, and you see them on eBay all the time.
How's the interface?
But that's what consumers are voting with. The interface is usually a Linux interface, sometimes about two. But the
About
consumers there are
keyboard,
buying.
about
Yeah, I mean, is it 10 foot? Is it remote?
Yeah, it's a 10-foot remote.
And it looks, it's easy
Yeah.
to use.
Yeah, it's
There you go, there you
IP, some are gigabit Ethernet, and just suck the content in, put it on these SATA drives, and enjoy. But that's an area where the lawyers haven't dug in yet, with the exception of a couple of studios are pulling all their stuff out of Korea because of the free flow of
That's a
these
great
things.
That's the best way to
Just
do
cut
it.
off part of your market.
Yeah.
The official market.
Yeah.
You can still see Sleeping Beauty and Wally anytime you want. But and Dark Knight, even Warner was pulling out of Korea because of this. So consumers voted there big time. Japan saw that and go, oh no, we're still too responsible for that. But consumers are the ones that are hacking the Apple TV to make it more than Apple wants to right now. And they're the ones that are getting heard. They're the ones that are influencing this show and the takeaways that have come from this show, because they're being heard more than any other period the last 10 years.
So what I heard Rick say is actually use an example from, an international example to move the discussion forward. So I'm going to stay on the international tone with an ancient Middle East proverb, which says, dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. So as you can see, as we look at formal approaches of devices, companies continuing to execute along the current constructs with all of the various challenges, limitations that I think all of you have expressed in the first 20 minutes here so far, consumers continue to do free. And that, I think, is probably a constant challenge. It is that constant tone for all participants in the space to say, as you continue to fall short of the promise, as you continue to not be able to get past each other's gardens, there's an increasing group of consumers, and I think it was it Will? That it gets easier and easier to do free, or conversely, the market continues to become more and more fragmented with either a single device, single category, or single service model. So do we ever get to something, what is the challenge that a company like HP or any of the other participants, do we ever get to something better than free?
Cost, convenience, and quality.
Yeah.
It has to be cheap, it has to be easy, and it has to be better than what I can download for free from the internet.
Yeah.
That's all, it's really simple, three things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Free and simple is always going to be commercial and complex.
Right,
So
and
what's the value
people even
proposition?
take bad quality for free. I mean, look at YouTube. YouTube is the perfect example that no one cares about video quality,
Yeah.
as long as it's free.
And can I find it? Because you build up these
Right.
these libraries on the home servers. How do I find this stuff again?
And how do I keep it in sync?
Right. I mean, and honestly, this is a dopey example. So I have a home server, 900 or so movies on it that I've ripped from DVD and Blu-ray. I make content, so I like paying for it. I think it's a good model for myself. But when I scroll through this list on an Xbox or PS3, the 900 movies takes forever. I mean, gee, there's no way to jump from I don't see cover art. I mean, I'm willing to pay $5-6 a movie, whatever it ends up being,
Right.
just so I have good cover art and I have multiple ways to index. Everything's tagged well. I'm perfectly happy doing that. I mean, that's a level of convenience that I'm willing to pay for, especially when you have a large collection.
And beyond convenience, how about just utility? Would people be willing to pay more for content if you could actually do more with a certain category of content than actually do less? So it may be free.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, a movie, you sit down and you watch, 90% of the audience isn't going to go through and remix anything. All they want to do is be able to watch it on all their devices. I mean, this is something we talk about a lot. It's all they want to do is be able to watch it on all their devices. So they want to be able to watch on their phone, their portable player, their living room, their computer, whatever else. If that's what you mean by utility, then yeah, I mean, it's utility, convenience, the same thing for me.
I mean, and that model now exists, within iTunes, because a DRM-free kind of version of a song is going to cost you more money than a DRM hobble version, and people are going to see that model, they'll accept it, they know that they'll pay an
Quality
extra.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they go to Amazon.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But the
Yeah,
model sits
right.
there, and people
Right.
understand that they pay a little bit more, but they get the flexibility that they want.
Do you want to pay for it over and over again? Is the notion?
Well, I think it's fun to buy the same movie like 6 times.
I bought
Makes
Big
me feel-
Lebowski 6 times. And I'll buy it again when Blu-ray comes out.
Yeah, there you go.
But just that one.
Yeah.
The dude who buys it.
Well, that's the delusion of the industry, right? Is that they think that people want to buy things over and over and over again, but most people, I mean, if you know people that'll still cling to like an old VHS tape because they don't want to rebuy it on DVD, or the more appropriate example is the people that have it on DVD. I have a lot of DVDs. I'm not going to go out and rebuy it all on Blu-ray. I'm just slowly switching to Blu-ray on some of the newer titles, but the industry somehow has this delusional fantasy that we're all going to pay 30% more to get the same movie on
But
Blu-ray.
there's a reason for that
Yeah.
delusional fantasy. I mean, first it was Disney really relied on VHS tapes wearing out, and whether
Right.
they have a newborn or you had nieces or nephews or cousins, you had to have this Disney movie and this one.
It's in the
at
vault.
home.
Right.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
vault.
For the
Scarcity.
next 30 years.
And the Bill Gates of Disney is a guy named Steve Rothman, and he started out as Goofy at Disneyland Park. It's a true story. And he was the guy who conceived, buy Pinocchio for the last time.
Right.
And even if you didn't have a kid in your family, like, well, my niece and I gotta get Pinocchio. And Disney soared, and this is back in the VHS DVD transition, and they're still in this idea that, you know, we control it. And those guys are, I have to say, getting diluted more and more by young professionals at the studios that are saying, no, convenience. Convenience, come on. I know the truth, you really rip this movie at home, you enjoy it, let's make this possible for other people. You know, time moves on. So it's getting better, but they're saddled with this mindset that it's studio control. When I was a kid, a movie would come out every 7 years. You want to see a really great movie? You have to wait 7 years. Come on, give me a break. No way to record it or rip it or anything else. And it's going to take maybe another couple of years for all those dinosaurs to go off to Jurassic Park together.
But the question of marginal gain, I mean, is really a big one here. I think people who appreciate a 50-inch 1080p TV will pay to get a very good version of a movie they love that they already own a 480p version of, and that they already own a 240 high.
But even in those households, probably only half of the household sees the difference.
Agreed. And that's what I was going to say. We've got marginal gain in two directions. One, fewer and fewer people see the benefit of jumping from DVD to Blu-ray, and two, the same person sees the gain only in fewer and fewer titles.
Right.
Like, no one in their right mind would get a Blu-ray of Casablanca because, I mean, wasn't there some discussion of like the emulsion of the film? Like, it doesn't actually get any better than.
Well, I got to challenge you there.
Yeah, no, that might have been a bad example.
Yeah.
Let's just start with the Marx Brothers. Blu-ray Marx Brothers is not going to look any better.
I'll go one more.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But have you ever seen Robin Hood?
Which
There's
Yeah,
only one?
Kevin Costner,
original-
Mel
the
Brooks.
original era-
Men in Tights?
The original Robin Hood has been restored to Blu-ray, and it's nothing like I watched growing up. And it's like, this would be like an Indiana Jones movie today.
But again, a restoration.
Just about.
But look,
Just about.
the investment they put into restoring the film, regardless of the resolution, is why you buy the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty, the same way. It's like the idea is that there is a promise that you're going to get something more out of that film. But how many films do you have in your mind's eye, like, that you really want to own in that
It's a small
high?
percentage of the catalog.
Because
Right.
the added value is
It's a
emotional.
pyramid.
The added value
Yeah.
is based on the fact that you love that film, you're
Right.
going to see it again and discover it for the
Yeah.
first time. Actually, you're going to kind of go through frame by frame and do a quality enhancement. You're not going to kind of make that judgment call. It's the fact that you're sitting there with your family watching a film that you all love together.
So I bought Wall-E, Ratatouille, Dark Knight, Iron Man. That's probably it. Oh, maybe Indiana Jones because I hadn't seen it when I bought the disc.
Yeah,
That was a mistake.
yeah, that was a mistake.
Sorry about that.
eBay.
But I bought those on Blu-ray, and everything else I'm buying on DVD because
Right.
it takes me 6 hours to rip a Blu-ray disc, and it takes me about an hour, 40 minutes to rip a DVD. And that convenience factor, I mean, if I'm watching some dumb Adam Sandler comedy, I don't care if it doesn't look that good.
But hold on, those movies you listed,
They all have
most
the,
of them all had digital copies.
but I can't stream them.
You can't stream,
I can't stream a high res version.
depending on what's on the
Exactly.
other end.
Right.
I mean, if
I
you
can
have
stream
an
to the
Apple
Xbox,
TV,
but not the PS3.
right.
I can stream to the really the Xbox or the Apple TV, but not the Popcorn
Xbox
Hour
or
the
Apple
Xbox.
TV would be
That's
the
choice.
two that you could stream to, yeah.
And ultimately, the PS3 is the streaming destination these days.
So you want the convenience of all those.
Yeah.
I
You
want the
own them, they're
convenience.
back on the shelf now, and now they're.
They go in a box in the garage. I don't ever look at the disc again. Probably it's like CDs.
I'll offer two things. One, well, I think Hollywood is getting more comfortable with the idea of streaming at least around the home. You know, as long as they're comfortable that the file is only living in one place at a time, they're getting more comfortable with the idea of it of you enjoying it on multiple screens, at least within the home. Again, it becomes more of a challenge, you know, when you leave the home. The other thing I'll offer is that I think the perspective on Blu-ray right now is kind of uniquely tied to this point in the transition from DVD to Blu-ray. I really don't see them as sort of fundamentally different, and you know, this holiday season, once the price gap narrowed in the players between DVD and Blu-ray, consumers flocked to Blu-ray, you know, just like when we saw, you know, 1080p sets enter, as soon as that gap gets narrowed, it just doesn't matter. There's perception that it's better, I want it, it's not that much more, I'm gonna go get it, you know, and I think the Blu-ray Association has been pretty consistent in its messaging that over time, this is just DVD, you know, just like high definition television is starting to be thought of just like television, that's going to be the case with Blu-ray. So,
Has-
Go ahead.
So has there actually been a significant pickup in the holiday season
Yeah,
for
there was.
Blu-ray sales? Okay, I haven't seen
Well,
those
you know,
numbers.
prices
Media
dropped
players.
below $150.
Yeah, I know for the players, but I mean, did consumers respond
Yes, they did.
in the way that, okay,
They
The
so,
way I had a
Huge jump.
DVD 10 years ago, it's more than twice as fast to pick up on the
Okay.
players and 3 times faster on media.
right.
Batman's, Dark Knight, 1 million Blu-ray discs in 5 days?
So,
5 days.